to mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
Well, hello, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive, factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
Or what?
Or what?
Or what?
You're right.
You're right.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode. Today's episode is going to be somewhat interesting. Now, hopefully I can contain myself throughout as we're talking about it. Because there might be a lot of laughing, so I apologize for the audio if you have to listen to my obnoxious laughing throughout this. Hopefully I can do it better than Sleepaway Camp, because I laughed all the way through that one. So I'll do the disclaimer, and then we'll get into this week's episode. Sure. Everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our Facebook pages, the Discord, or the comment section, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom, so let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of nerdism.
Don't be a dick. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, what she said.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, this 1998 neo-Western action horror movie, directed and scored by the master, John Carpenter, adapted from the novel Vampires by John Stakely. Apt name. The final confrontation of the ages is about to begin as Monsters of North brings you John Carpenter's Vampires.
God, this film
That's
is
the
something.
Actual tagline for this
I
movie.
know. It's better than Ghosts on Mars. I'll give it that.
Well, that's a really great way to start this episode, because that's the movie that almost broke John Carpenter and made him want to retire.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
That was not a pleasant film to watch in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think it was a pleasant experience for him overall, because he was ready. He was going to retire. No, it wasn't that. It was escape from LA was what really hurt him.
Yeah.
And he was ready to walk away until this script came into his lap. Now, he is not the first director. He is not... I can't remember. I didn't go into the in-depths of whose was the first, apart from one...
Peter Jackson.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Peter Jackson. And Peter Jackson looked at it. He'd done Brain Dead. It was 98, so he hadn't done Lord of the Rings at that point. Lord of the Rings would have been 2000, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Lord of the Rings. So he had Lord of the Rings in the pipeline, and he knew he couldn't commit to anything, because obviously Lord of the Rings took so long to film for it to be released in 2000. So he knew he was going to start that project. So he couldn't commit to this with him. So, yeah.
So, and this... once he read it and realized how much it closely resembled a Western, he was like, oh, yeah. And this movie, in all respect, actually did really well. So this is the reason why John Carpenter didn't retire and just bow out of Hollywood completely. It's this movie you want to thank.
Yeah.
This one right here. I know I really wish this casting went ahead, because it would have changed the face of this movie completely. Was Bruce Campbell was John Carpenter's first choice to play Montoya, sorry. Montoya. Montoya, who is played by Daniel Baldwin.
Baldwin
brothers.
Team America has a lot to blame.
It does.
But
he turned it down for whatever reason, and then it was given to well-known actor Alec Baldwin,
Alec Baldwin,
who actually signed on. He signed on for this movie. And then at the last minute, something else came up, and it was one of those, you have to go and do this instead of doing this moment.
Yeah.
And he went, that, okay, I'm totally fine with that. Would you consider as a replacement my brother?
who looks like me but doesn't.
I messaged Dan the other night when I was watching this, and I was like, is it me? Or is Daniel Baldwin strangely attractive?
There was something about him, and it was like this really unpleasant attractiveness, and I don't know.
But it's there.
I don't know what it is, because it made me feel like I needed a shower and bleach to feel that way. But I was like, oh, there's something.
There's something there.
Yeah, I don't. I
don't know what
like
it is.
I don't like it.
I don't know what it is.
Did you hear he also asked Arlie Emery as well?
Yes.
That was one that I thought would have been pretty cool, but apparently that he didn't have the pull they needed. For those of you who don't know who Arlie Emery is, you must be in a hole, but I understand the name's not exactly
didn't just
up
jump
there.
out. Mm-hmm.
If you've seen, best one for me to say is if you've seen Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
He is the sergeant who screams at Vincent D'Onofrio and
D'Onofrio. Oh,
yeah,
my brain is working.
He shouts at Private Pyle. He's the famous. He's been typecast because that's what he was in the army. So they typecast him in that role. He went on to do Texas Chainsaw Massacre at some point as well, didn't he?
He did. He's in The Frighteners for a brief second as his character in Full Metal Jacket. If it's not, then that was a bad call. But he's just a drill sergeant in that, which I always said was his, because spoilers for Full Metal Jacket, he gets killed. And and not in war either. So yeah, he's in Frighteners. I thought that was such a great choice, because it really could have. I can see if he was going to be playing Crow, which is the James Woods character. I think he could have brought something very special to that role, just because it would have been nice to see him a bit downplayed as to the whole as we know him.
Well, you can see they were going for a certain type of. Like John has this totally different view on what a leading man is, because when they'd approached other people, they'd originally approached as well Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I've got that. And Kurt Russell was top dog. Like it's Kurt Russell.
Boy.
It's his boy. But again, it was just commitments with Kurt, nothing else but commitments. But I did see the Clint Eastwood bit.
And the Danny Glover.
I can understand it.
Yes, because obviously the weapon out and about at that point, and the whole Riggs and
Predator 2.
Yeah,
I watched that not long ago, and I think that film is absolutely brilliant, and it's because of Danny Glover's performance. I forget how fucking good he actually is, and he did it because he just wants to see a black man playing an action hero. So I think he would have fully committed to this, because if you remember, he goes on to do Saw later on, which is another. It's he's trying to create a space for black actors to be part of this kind of these genres,
which John does really well with. Obviously in They Live, Keith David's in They Live. Keith David also plays a massive part in The Thing. He has a knack of finding people to cast that you wouldn't normally associate with being leading people. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones was up for this part as well. So, I mean, you're talking, I think Men in Black have been out at that point. So we're probably on Men in Black 2 or 3 by 98. But he has that. By the way, Josh Brolin playing a younger Tommy Lee Jones. Perfect. Casting, whatever that was.
It was brilliant. Tommy Lee Jones is a huge hit in Mine and Anne's house. In our house. That was a bit weird saying. In the Bryce household, we absolutely love him. We watched, was it last year or the year before? I watched The Fugitive for the first time. And I have never in a long time sat there and been like, or cheering on someone and just hysterically laugh. There was one line, and me and Anth quote it to each other all the time. It's that I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Line. And then I think it was it? Oh God, what's the follow up to that? I kept calling it The Siege the other night, and it's not. It's whatever the follow up is to The Fugitive with Tommy Lee Jones and his crew that were in. And Wesley Snipes is in it. I absolutely loved it. Like still this year, if it gets brought up, anything Tommy Lee Jones, we and him will go, shut up, The Fugitive.
Well, if you look at the cast of the opening of Vampires, that's a hell of a cast when you start looking into who's in the group. You've got bloody Mark Boone Jr., who people may not know by name, but will know by character from Sons of Anarchy, because he was. Who was he, Sam?
I am watching it.
Yes.
I can't remember what his name is.
I've gone blank on his name. You'll have to forgive me.
I am watching it.
He basically the big hairy dude.
Yeah, he's got really massive curly hair, and instantly the minute you see him, you go, oh, him.
Yeah, he's done so many shows, and I've seen him 1,000 times, but for the life of me, I've gone blank on his name, and I do apologise, and you'll all be shouting at me, but I could Google it, but I really can't be bothered. But yeah, Mark Boone Jr. is in it. Then you've got a Japanese actor who, for the life of me, I've gone blank on his name off the top of my head, but he is somebody who was renowned for doing some amazing stunt work. He was huge in the 80s for doing martial arts type films, and he played one of the Slayers in the big group, and that was when the issues come with him because they didn't give him John. He took John aside and said, John, look, I'm used to doing this sort of thing, and you really don't want me to do anything. And he was like, no, you're just there. And like this, and he was highly underutilized massively. But you also had, and this is without me being, this is just observations. So this is what this is. You had a Native American, you had a Mexican, you had a Japanese person, you had a Baldwin. A nationality.
It's just a class of its own.
Just its own nationality. And you had James Woods, and then I think you had there was a ginger in there, and then there was like a cowboy. So that they were trying to cover a lot of bases for equality purposes, I feel. But it didn't last long, so it didn't really matter. So
I feel like such an idiot. Well, I didn't go and look into the casting of this because I feel like I know this movie inside out, back to front, and upside down. I've just seen who plays Valak.
Yep. Yeah.
Terry White. Oh God, I need to leave this. I need to stop doing it. I have a pop culture podcast. How did I not know that was him?
I was watching it and I kept looking at him going, he looks so familiar, and I couldn't place him, and something in me clicked and went, no, that's not. So I went on Karate Kid 3.
Yes.
Is it Terry Silver.
It's Terry Silver. It's Thomas Ian Griffin. It's Terry fucking Silver from the Karate Kids and
now he's Cobra Kai. Yeah. So there's something about him in this movie which doesn't sit the same as Terry.
No.
Because in this he seems really tall.
Yeah. Yes.
Really tall.
I think he is really tall, actually.
Is James Woods really small then, just to get that?
Yeah, I think so. He's got to be. I'm sure. I'm just trying to picture him in, because the last thing I obviously seen him in was Cobra Kai. It's the face is so unrecognizable.
It's the hair. I think it's the hair that throws you off, because we're used to seeing him with his hair tied back in a ponytail when he's doing the martial arts.
Yeah.
And in this, he's got dark black, gothy chin length.
Oh, he's chiseled. Like,
he does look very different.
The only thing I don't like about the look, he looks superb. And when the fucking the masters are all walking out of the cemetery, that shot is just beautifully done. It's the teeth.
6'5".
That's tall.
That's very tall.
That's,
So that
that's
explains a
tall.
lot.
Yeah, the teeth. I can't get away with the teeth. That was a choice.
What, the really, really long ones?
It looks like the techno of his face, man. The big chunky, like, how are you supposed to bite anyone? There's no sharpness to them. They look blunt as hell. Can you remember when we were talking about vampires' nails?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Them big long spoon things. Yeah.
It just aesthetically, it doesn't, especially with how grand he looks overall and how sharp he's dressed and then them teeth. He can't even close his mouth.
Well, it was KRB special effects team, which we have come to know and love as Kurtzman, Nicotero, and Berger, which is Robert Kurtzman, Greg Nicotero, and Howard Berger. And they are the three guys that became synonymous in the early 90s. They worked with under Tom Savini, these guys. They went off and then started their own effects company. And obviously we all know Greg from The Walking Dead. Robert is famous for doing what we talked about last week, which was House on Haunted Hill. He's done so many more. Robert, lovely man. He's also done the House on Haunted, the Haunted on Hill House. He did the Broke Neck Lady. That's what he's famous for that.
Beautiful.
So they between the lot of them, and I've met Greg a couple of times, and Greg is really, really lovely. He came over and he's had many a chat. And we saw him when we went over in November last year, October, November last year at Spooky, when I met V Neil and Greg as well. And Greg was just like, we were talking to Greg and he was like, come talk to me later and, have a chat with me and tell me all about it. And he was just really, really lovely man. He's always got time for people.
You see,
he's like a sponge. He seems like a sponge. Like anything you're willing to share with him, he'll take it in.
He's so part of the Savini universe, like as in like his universe, that his actual living universe, that's the kind of person he is. Like he's been nothing but a student, and I don't think he's ever even in life that's left him.
Yeah, I mean it's for me, those three. Howard Berger was the main driving force of the three. He was the guy that did all the networking. Howard was the one that did all the booking of the jobs and getting them on the places. But Howard's the one you don't know. Well, if you're in the special effects world, you may well know him better than the other two. But me, I know those two guys.
Yeah,
I don't know Howard. So they were the ones that set up a lot of the special effects rigs, the makeup, and I watched a couple of behind the scenes that was explaining as to how they did some of the effects, which we'll get to when we get to that point. But it was really quite interesting how the choices that they made to make these vampires different.
Yeah,
with a
and there is a difference to them. And don't get us wrong, teeth aside, everything else works about them. And before we jump into the movie, there's a couple of things I've got. The second of last one is probably one of the only original cast members from when the early days of this movie who was going to play Crow was Dolph Lundgren. You can take that however way you want to see it.
He dies.
Well, he did on this movie. He bit the dust because John Carpenter did not want him in the slightest, and was there. And he was like, "Can I not just be a background character? Can I not just do this?" And John's like, "No, no, you can get out my fucking door." And no, he refused. That was the refusal. Was that, and so James Woods is notorious for his bad behavior on set and being very difficult to work with. He's been labeled a difficult actor. John Carpenter never saw that side of him. They had, in John's words, a beautiful working relationship. They had an understanding with each other. James understood that John wanted it a certain way, and John understood that James wanted it a certain way. So what they would do, they compromised. One shot was John's. The second one was James. And John said his ideas were fucking brilliant, that he went 80% of the work is James Woods.
Yeah.
He said it was such a collaboration.
Yeah. They say like John had nothing but lovely things to say about James, which everybody that you ever speak of ever will have nothing nice to say about the man ever. Like he's probably, I wouldn't say a hated man in Hollywood, but he sealed his fate most recently when he was doing naughty things to the women again. Like allegedly. But yeah, there was all that rumor mill that was going off. I don't know if it ended up in court. I don't know if anything came of it. I didn't really follow it, but I know that there was hoo-ha, with him because he's a nightmare.
But allegedly. But that's not what I was reading when it came to him and John's relationship. He said it was just a really amazing collaboration and it was easy, and because they both knew what they wanted out of it. They took this really seriously. You can tell.
James Woods at the time, I was in his mid to late 40s when he filmed this.
They gotta be.
You don't find action stars. I mean, now we're celebrating
older action stars. Yeah.
Old action stars are getting older now. Like 20 years ago, you had to be in your early 20s. That was it. Otherwise, you get out. But in the 90s, it was not something that was done to place an older character, an older gentleman as the lead character.
Yeah.
But what I did notice, because he wasn't the love interest, it sort of worked. I think had he have been the love interest as well, it would have been a bit weird. I mean, Cheryl, I know she's not... this sounds awful. I know Cheryl Lee wasn't a spring chicken when she filmed this, but she wasn't necessarily old. She was in her late 30s, I think.
She looked fucking beautiful. Laura Palmer.
Corpse. Yeah, she made a beautiful corpse, that woman. So, like...
She walked very well. I feel like she might have gotten lessons from Greg Nicotero on zombie walking, because she did it flawlessly as she's walking through the desert. Like, oh, it looked like somebody got Shaun of the Dead.
She does the stare. The stare is what she was famous for in this film, and she did it chef's kiss. There's something about every time they cut to one of the linked, like where she could be able to see what Valak was doing, or Valak would be able to see what she was, what was going on. She managed to pull off like this vacancy, but you could see that she knew what she was. There was a sense of awareness on top of the whole thing happening, and you could see her slightly descending into madness the further it went on, or descending into vampirism, or whatever you want to call it. And it was just one of those things when you watch it, you're just like, ooh, that's got to take some beating to pull off a like that. She didn't get enough time, in my opinion.
No,
and I don't think she deserved Montoya. I don't understand that choice.
No, given the fucking slap he gave her. No chance. If someone slapped me like that, you want to believe, you want to hope there's nothing kicking about that I can't hit you back with. Because I can go from 1, and as my husband will tell you, I can go from 1 to 100. And it doesn't take a lot. We'll go into the movie, because I'm just reading through my notes. Because what I did to make sure, because I've had so much on the last few weeks, everything started, and I had another recording this week, and everything started to kind of roll into one. I was like, I'll write things down so I can remember, and I'm reading back over my notes, and they're so stupid. It's for me to be able to remember shit. The opening of the movie kind of sets you up with the team as they're going in to clear out a nest, and you get to see the magnificent jeans of James Woods.
No one wants to see James Woods in painted on jeans. That much I can.
Leather and denim. I tell you what, he pulls it off.
Oh, he pulls it off, yeah. But there's something about it that you're just like, that's clearly blistering hot out there, dude. You must be fried to death. Take the jacket off.
Yeah. The one thing I find really, and I love this movie. This was one of my go-tos many years ago. I could just watch it and just think, it was like it was an easy movie to watch. But when you had to look at it from, for a discussion point of view, they don't flesh out anything. There's so much potential of interesting shit that's going on, but nothing's really fleshed out. Like, so you meet this team of vampire hunters, and they are accompanied by a priest, who James will not call anything else but Padre. Padre. And what really got me is they set it up brilliantly, as in how tactical they are and how well put together they are as a team. Yet when it comes, they know it's a nest. So when it comes down to the first vampire being present, all they do is focus on that one vampire. It's a nest.
I had an issue with them from the outset because, okay, it's daytime. So in cliche land, we're to believe that all vampires sleep during the day.
Yeah.
Personally, they just can't go outside in the sunlight. If that's the law, they can't, right? They're not going to twinkle, these ones set on fire.
No.
So they can't go outside. So who's to say they sleep during the day? So they pull up outside the door, the front freaking door. They're not prepared. They're not stealth. They all come out. They all put on their kit. They all get all their like weapons out. I'm like, how long did that take? If you're in there and you've got an escape, there's no way.
They're gone.
Unless they haven't got an escape like underground to get somewhere else. You would have been like, all right, they're here. Let's fuck off. You know, dudes, that's not stealthy. You're not doing your jobs, men.
No, it's the fact that they're focused on that one vampire though, and it's like, mates, you're in there for a nest. You expect more than one. Why are you not panning out and like you deal with that, and I'll go and look for more? No, all the team going in on this one.
Well, the one thing as well about this bit is that I need to bring up the similarities of these two things because it bugged the shit out of me the first time I heard it. The song, right? The song that's playing has the Western like cliche, but it was a bit rocky. It was done by a band called, and then bear in mind John Carpenter is in this band, called the Texas Toadlickers. And it is called Slayers. That's the name of the song, right? This is all according to the soundtrack listings. Now, I kept listening to that song thinking, I've heard that before somewhere. I don't know where I've heard it before, other than in the film, but I've heard this somewhere before. And something clicked in my head and I thought, oh, I wonder if that film is before or after. Well, it turns out that this specific film was 2 years prior, in 1996, and it was called From Dusk Till Dawn. And there's a song in that called Dark Night, and it's at the end where you get the whole view of where George leaves. Oh God, I can see her face. Juliette Lewis on her own.
Yes,
speeds off, and the song's called Dark Night, and it's by the Blasters, and it's got exactly the same kind of like guitar. And it was bugging me. They're not the same song by any stretch of the imagination, but you can tell the influence has been pulled from the 1996 film to the 1998 film. And you see John Carpenter even says when he is being interviewed on one of the behind the scenes how he got so tired, like you were saying, of Hollywood, and he was done with it. Let people like Darren Aronofsky, and he was saying people like Robert Rodriguez, and obviously Robert Rodriguez was on Dusk Till Dawn with Quentin, and also with Greg and with Tom Savini, and so there was this whole influence and level of experience that came with Dusk Till Dawn that they carried with them to doing vampires, which I thought was a great connection, really, because
it's actually quite sweet, really, in a way, like that John can even find inspiration from others and as we found out in Michael Myers episode, no, it wasn't. It was
The Thing.
It was oh, my brain is like fucking mush today. The Christmas film we did.
Oh, Black Christmas.
That John actually found inspiration from that to go on.
The POV camera,
yeah. So it's nice that John recognizes others in his work That's what I want to say. My fucking brain is honestly, it's switched off today. I've been calling people the wrong names, so I'll probably do the same in this as well. But yeah, okay.
It's like you say, there's a whole section in that bit where they're fighting the vampires and the vampire falls out the ceiling. That is the vampire that they attack is a guy called, I want to say Danny Ortega, but I don't know if that's the right
It's not.
It's
hold on.
It's definitely Ortega.
I know the name. I do have the cast list up, but it doesn't come across.
Right.
Carrie. No, that's the Japanese guys you were talking about.
Yeah, Tagawa.
Hang on.
Jimmy Ortega. There we go. It's Jimmy Ortega who played the vampire. And he was the one that got the stake in the head. And this is where you see that there's a whole section of the special effects on behind the scenes. And they show that they made a full animatronic bust of Jimmy Ortega from here upwards. He was also puppetry controlled and animatronic controlled, so that when he got stabbed in the head, you see Carrie stab him in the head. He had like blood blister packs in there that all exploded, and then they'd swap him round to the special effects guy, which was Jimmy, but they melted in like this pin that was kind of in his forehead, that was the structure to keep the stake suspended the same way. And it was really ingenious way that they managed to do it. So it kept the illusion that the stake was obviously embedded in his head. And then there was a lot in the burning sequences and in the fight sequences. There was a lot of cuts, but you don't get to see the cuts, so it was done really well in editing. But they have 3 stages. They have the initial stage, which is the intent, and then they have the secondary stage, which is either a dummy or a puppet or an animatronic, and then they have the third stage, which is the special effects makeup. So it could be the actor in special effects, or it could be a burn up dummy, it could be something like that. So they have these 3 stages for every one of their special effects shots they had. They were cut into 3 sections, which I thought I've not really heard that done. I mean, it's probably well done and everybody does it, but I've not really heard anybody talk about it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that one really fascinated me because they talk about it for quite a lot in the behind the scenes extras. So I was like, ooh. I'm intrigued.
Interesting. It just, the opening scenes, I think, just beautifully put together because of it. And it's probably more to do with them outside and all suiting up, is to figure out, they're a team. They've got a priest. They're going to fuck some shit up. It's just when they get in, it's such poor decision making. Unlike,
they're not well put together, really.
They're not.
I mean, no, they're not a team.
But they look like they are. And when you get into the next bit out with the celebration, the party, or the fucking orgy, as it ends up turning out to be.
That's the thing. Like, James, you hear James Wood saying, there's no master. Where's the master? There's a nest. There should be a master. And as they're driving off, they don't bother to look for this master.
No, let's just go and get fucked up instead. I love the line that Daniel Baldwin says to the Padre when he picks the skull up. Nothing like a little bit of heyday, Padre.
He puts the skull on the front of his van, doesn't he?
I did like that line. And it did look like you could get a sense of it's Jack Crow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get a sense of Jack Crow's character with the way that he kills the vampires. He takes it very personally. There's something definitely deep rooted in him by just watching him kill, like he's just stabbing the shit out of this vampire. But they do go off and have a big massive orgy / party, and
whatever the hell that is, because even the priest is standing there going, this is costing me so much money, when are you guys leaving?
Yeah. And it's like, one of the guests is like, maybe we should go and do over a liquor store, and the policeman's that fucked up. He's like, I don't care, I don't give a fuck. But you get a sense of that camaraderie, the team aspect of it all. This, at one point, someone mentions one of the rules. Now, this really fucked me off because I think there's 10 rules altogether.
Yeah.
Try and find them online.
You can't.
Nope,
I've
you
found
can't.
rule number 5 and maybe rule number 3. Like, I can't remember what specifically which rules they were, but I can only find 2 rules out there.
No, you can't find all the rules. I think number 1 is don't leave, if a brother gets bitten, don't leave him alive.
Yeah.
Because I think that gets said at the end of the movie. But they mention these rules throughout the movie. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to have to find these, aren't I? Because that's going to be like, that's a good talking point. The rules. Because, like, how good is that in Zombieland when you've got all the, all the rules to abide by?
Double tap.
Can't fucking find them. Not one mention of these fucking rules.
But then John does that. He'll pick something and he'll leave it with you to marinate and bang around the noggin. He did it with the end of the thing where people always debated whether they were both infected or one of them was infected or one of them wasn't. He's still never to this day cleared that up. He's just left it for you to deal with.
Son of a bitch.
I mean, a lot of people have said Keith David still has an earring in, therefore he couldn't have been one because it wouldn't have been able to which I think we talked about in the podcast anyway, which if you go back and look for the thing, it's a very good episode.
Yes. It's got our friend of the podcast, Mike Kell, on.
Yeah. So he leaves you with these little nuggets, these tiny little things where you think you know what's going to happen. You think you know how it's ended, like after it's ended, but then he'll throw in just a little bit of like misdirection and you'll be like, oh, where am I with this? So I do feel like these 10 rules are something that he's like, there's 10 rules, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because, these guys abide by them and they're very, very strict by these 10 rules, but I'm still not going to tell you what they are.
Yeah. You get a sense of, how do you pronounce it? Montoya?
Yeah.
Have I missed her eye out? I must have. Montoya's and Jack's relationship, it's very, out of all of them two are tight-knit.
Yeah, they're like brothers.
Yeah, them two are brothers, and the rest of them are just part of the team. Just part of the team and have a mass orgy. And that's where you get to meet Laura Palmer.
Yeah, she is. And now we are going to be talking about if you're going to watch this, the use of 90s language is quite prevalent. Now, today we would class them as sex workers, and that's, no judgment. Sex workers is what they are. But in the 90s, we're going with hookers. They were hookers, right? And that's what they're referred to as hookers.
Yeah.
And we are talking cliched hookers at that, booty shot as the girls are walking into, you don't see their faces. It's all concentrated on their panty line, on their booty shorts as they trot into the motel, which you can see they're having a huge party in. And it's just one of those things where you're just like, okay. And then all the women are scantily clad, got nothing on.
Or nothing on at one point.
Or nothing, yeah.
Lots of boobs in this shot.
I've always wondered, with this sort of thing. Now, I know I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but in these scenarios, it's like the people that tend to have these liaisons are not aware that there's 50 other people in the room. Or are they aware? They enjoy the whole thing, but I'm just like, there's rooms. Do you not really...
Why do you have to do it in the middle with everyone watching? I don't understand that mentality. Again, I am not any stretch, but there's a thing called privacy.
It's just,
and I like to take that up.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that have always got me wondering, like, why is there always one butt naked person? It's just like there's always one butt naked person, and I know it's for the ambience. It sets the scene. It sets the frame of mind of everybody. Like, oh yeah, she's naked. It must be. This is what's going to happen. Which worked in the 80s, but we're heading out of the 90s into the 2000s now. So it felt very
So there's a scene in Trading Places, the party scene, and where Eddie Murphy's character has, gained the house of Dan Aykroyd's character, and he's having a party because in his head he's starting to change into the person that they're aiming for him to be, and the party is where it kind of sets it off. And one of the guests just fucking takes that top off and starts dancing topless, and it's almost like it's a natural, normal thing for this person to be doing. Like, oh, that's how eventually this party will get finished. Like, get on is we're just gonna take our tops off.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get us wrong, free the nipple
really good
and
party.
everything.
Woohoo!
Yeah, but that's what
And
you get him. Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say, and that's how they seem to set this party. It is just like loads of people getting covered in drink and drug, and clearly there's drugs going on, and
there's something other than drink going on in there.
Yeah, it's just like a little den of debauchery, which is ironic when you actually find out that they are employed by the church, the Catholic Church.
Yeah, they are. They have a so. This is the one thing that really bugs me about this movie, and I mentioned it earlier, is that the fleshing out of things they don't do a great deal of. Jack Crow was an orphan whose parents were murdered by vampires, was taken in by the Catholic Church, and has been trained to be this vampire slayer. You get tiny snippets of it, but not enough to like flesh out this whole arc of who this person actually is and how he became to be this fucking, because he is badass as fuck, like he really is, but they don't flesh it out to where you're like, oh, I give a shit about that. And it really fucking annoys us. So yeah, they are employed by the Catholic Church. They carry a priest around with them everywhere they go as
the
part of their blessings.
But
he was getting
the priest was quite enjoying himself at this thing. There was no underage boys to my knowledge, but that's but yeah, it was all and then like you see this slow-mo shot of a guy in a long black dark coat with long black hair slowly like marching towards the room. It was like it was a slow walk but with an intent, you know what I mean? It was that kind of like,
it was like a Michael Myers walking from the asylum to Haddonfield.
Yeah, very much so.
Oh, what the fuck? My brain has been like on like wah, 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 but like, and I managed to get Haddonfield out.
But yeah, it was just like, and for a second it you get it if you don't blink and miss the shot as they are driving off from the nest. You see some hands come out of dirt, and if you blink and miss that bit, this bit doesn't. You're like, what the fuck did that?
Where the fuck did he just come from? He came from the ground.
Yes. Now these guys like being buried underground. Like when I say underground, I'm not meaning in an open hole. Literally buried in dirt. This is how they survive during the day. Which I don't. There was a whole section on this as well with the special effects. How there's a scene when there's not just. I'm going to refer to him as Terry Silver because my brain can't remember so many names. But
so it's Valak, but originally in my notes I was calling him Malik because I couldn't quite hear the pronunciation properly. But for all intents and purposes, it's Terry Silver.
Yes. So yeah, I'll just quickly go back to Valak though. Yes, Valak. They use the name Valak, and most people who watch modern horror know Valak from the Conjuring movies. Valak was a demon in the Conjuring movies. I don't think this is canon. I don't think it's anything to do with the same demon. This is just the name of the priest from the early 1300s. That led a revolt against the church, and they burnt him at the cross. But in doing so, it then caused this thing to happen where he was spotted walking during the night, and he'd been they didn't really explain how he became a vampire. It's just that he was called the original. It was just he's referred to as the original. So he's 668 years old or something, 686 years old at the point of the movie.
Yeah.
So there's that line where James Woods turns around and goes, "Is your dick still working?" or something along those lines. And I'm like, good God, man.
There's some really quotable lines in this. That's the problem with this film. It's fucking great. Aesthetically, it is brilliant. There's a lot of nostalgia feels in it for me because it's like something I used to watch religiously. But when you really like looking into it, there's just no depth at all. It's so visual that you kind of like, why about that? And are you going to tell us more about him? Who's he? Why is Terry Silver walking across my screen right now?
Yeah.
can't believe I didn't know it was him. I didn't even bother to go and look because I genuinely didn't recognize him. That I thought he was just nobody, somebody or nobody.
It was something. It's like I've seen this film before, but like I was having this discussion with Rob because I had it on, and Rob was painting Warhammer or gaming or something, and he turned around and he said to me, he said, "How have you seen this film before?" And I said, "Yeah, my dad, when my parents split up when I was little, broken home baby. My dad used to take me and my sister every Sunday either to the cinema or he'd take us to Blockbusters, and we'd rent a video or we'd go and see a movie. And the videos used to get weirder and weirder because we used to watch so many films. So one week it would be Army of Darkness, next week it'd be Gummy Bears or something. Do you know what I mean? It was just like I get a pick.
No consistency.
No, my picks were always like Army of Darkness. I think even at one point I managed to convince him to get out Time Cop with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And like I used to just pick these movies, and like I liked the covers.
Well, that's all you had anything to base anything off was the cover.
Yeah. And so I remember I asked him to get out Vampires when it came out, and I was 18 when the film came out, and still seeing my dad and on a Sunday and stuff like that. So like I remember watching it, and I remember seeing it with my dad. I know I did. So when I sat down with Rob, I'm like, I'm sure I've seen this before. And it clicked into place. I'd seen it with my dad. And I was like, that was dad fashion. Exactly what James Woods was wearing was what, apart from the leather jacket being a bit too bolero for my likings, it was a bit on the high side. A men's leather jacket back in the 90s was pretty bum length. You know, we're talking Hollywood.
And I think it's like, it's around about Matrix time. So the trench coat would have been coming into fashion as well.
Which is why Terry Silver is wearing a trenchish coat. It's not kind of a trench coat in the sense
I think it's more like a dress coat. Like it looks, because he's so classy looking, like so elegantly put together for someone who's just walked out the dirt.
Yes, and if you've been buried for such a long time, where have you got these clothes from that look so modern and
clean?
Yeah, because you've been in dirt.
Clean.
I did have an issue with his makeup, personally. As he went along throughout the movie, you get to see him become paler and paler and paler and paler. Yeah. And it's very, very obvious it's an oil-based paint they've put, like face paint they've put on him. Because it seems like he's getting shinier and shinier and shinier as the film goes on too. And the red lines, you can see they're drawn on with a brush. I mean, they're well done, but they're not
natural.
I don't know what that choice was. It was a choice. I mean, if they explained the choice, I'd probably get on board. But
there's a lot of choices in this movie. A lot of choices. Especially when it comes to the costumes.
Well, yeah. This bit where there is the carnage, though, I think is probably where it peaked. This film. This
is some fucking brilliant kills in here.
Yeah.
So Malik Valek, Terry Silver, gets to the motel, and just as big curly hair guy is about to go and do a beer run, he opens the door to Malik Valek, Terry Silver, who literally hand in the stomach up through the head and splits him in two.
It's like a reverse karate chop, isn't it? It's in and out.
How the fuck did I not know that was him at that point? I was so angry with myself because I honestly would look at him. I was like, I don't know who that is, so I don't care. Like, I know who James Woods is and Daniel Baldwin is. That's fine. But yeah, hand in the stomach and
it was a hell of a kill. I mean,
it was a brilliant kill.
The special effects for obviously the silicone bust, the face, the life cast they'd taken of Mark Boone Jr. That was a bloody good life cast because it did look like him when he was cut in half. And
the transition from look, you're there, to in half was flawed, seamless. Like you can't see that obviously is not him in half. It's so brilliantly shot. I mean, this whole scene is brilliantly shot with all the kills. It's like the whole vampire training went out the window when this guy shows up. Because the panic and franticness.
I will say one thing, right? If you're a vampire hunter, you're part of the Slayer team. I'm guessing this isn't your first rodeo. Why are you staking people in the head and shooting them with a gun? I mean,
No
we're
idea.
aware that the only really ways of killing any vampire is if we're going with the stake to the heart law, then stake to the heart or chopping the head off of the body and separating the two, right? That's the two standard. I would say out of all the ways of killing a vampire, they are the two rocks that people don't seem to deviate from. Chopping off the head, stake to the heart. They didn't even remember to even shoot him in the heart or try and stab him in the heart.
It just kept randomly shooting them.
Unload like hundreds of rounds into this guy who's just standing there and he's just taking it. It's just like you can tell the squibs were affecting him though in the jacket, because you watch his face when they're going off and you can see him like proper reacting to these squibs going off.
Yeah. It's just like, can you not do this without Jack or Montoya there? Is that something that you can't actually do? Are you a team at all? Because that was it. At the very beginning when you meet them, do you know what vibes I was getting? Twister.
Yes. Yes. Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt when they're having their when
they're all outside and all the vans are all there and it's like they're all getting a game and I'm like, hey,
with Philip Seymour Hoffman and everybody. 100%.
Yeah, I was getting Twister vibes and then when you get to the party and you get to this bit where everyone's getting fucking annihilated by one guy, it doesn't feel like Twister at all.
They end up being like Carrie Elwes' bloody team that gets sucked up into the tornado or crushed by a lorry or something happens to them. Scaffolding comes through the window.
It's a scaffolding. That's right. It goes right through.
Ooh. Which reminds me, Twisters is coming out this year. So I'm intrigued, but I feel insulted at the same time for Bill Paxton. So
I don't know how to feel about it. I just leave it alone.
Yeah, I think I'm enjoying the fact that we're doing a lot of the comparisons with the originals and then the remakes. Yeah. But they're more fun when they're not carbon copies. Like they're not would they be classed as reboots?
I don't even know how to take it at this point, because the minute I watch the trailer and it's got you were hit by a F5 tornado and it took your house and it left you behind, and it's like, oh my god, are you just taking Helen Hunt's story and just rehashing it all over again? Like, no, do Twisters, but do something fucking original. Like, you don't have to take elements from the other one, or be just that ballsy and do what Carrie did when it did the remake. Fucking make it. Do it. Redo it all over again. Do your interpretation of that movie. Be that ballsy about it. But don't sit there and take fucking elements of a story and go, we're just going to use that again. It just feels lazy.
It does. But I can see where you were going with that.
I forgot how I started with that one.
They get completely eviscerated in this hotel, and Crow and Montoya are outside chatting, or they've gone for a beer run, or they're having a smoke. I don't know. Something's happened because
outside. Jack meets Laura Palmer first, and it looks like them two are going to go get it on. But then Laura gets distracted by Malik Valek, Tommy Silver. And she gets, I want to say it's probably her femoral artery that has been compromised there, but it doesn't quite look like it when you are looking at it from the angle that you see. And then the Montoya's somewhere, Jack is somewhere, the carnage has happened. Jack then runs to the motel, is running away from the motel with Montoya, sees Laura Palmer is a bit fucked up, and he kind of like goes, come on, you gotta go, and he stops himself and goes, hold on, have you been bit? Oh, fuck that, and like kind of pushes her away, and then and then Jack's like, oh no, actually we can use you, and and then Montoya, Jack, and Laura Palmer get into the car. I will stop calling her Laura Palmer. What is her actual name in this movie?
I think it's Katrina.
Yes, it is. Let's start calling that Katrina, because it's not mix up the two. And they get into the car and drive off to a motel, and obviously Jack explains that because she's been bit by this master, we're going to have a direct contact to him and know what he's going to do.
As long as she doesn't taste the blood, she'll be all right.
Exactly.
This was the weird part of the law that in this land, in the land of vampires,
the law of the land,
was that it was mentioned, and I think it was by Daniel Baldwin, that if you have been bitten and you eat food, it slows down the change process. But if you are bitten and you don't eat food, the starvation of your body will then set the vampirism disease into overdrive, and you're quicker.
Well, they are treating it as a disease. It's not just an instant transformation like some have done in the past, which I, again, find quite interesting.
It's the 5-day rule, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in this, they have the 5-day rule. Now, this isn't one of the rules, as far as I'm aware, because I couldn't find anything that said that. But the 5-day rule is, on the first day you get bitten, and by the 5th day you've turned.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't work out if that turning involved biting someone to turn,
or you did it anyway.
Yeah, or you just turned.
Yeah. Or you just turned. They don't flesh it out or elaborate on it. So you've just got to fucking guess at this point. And this is where it just becomes a little bit uncomfortable for me. Especially the slap.
Oh, the bit in the hotel room with Montoya and her. Like there's this bit where he's checking into the hotel and he goes, I need one for like 2 nights, and the guy behind the reception goes, oh, we only do it by the week. And he went, is that your girlfriend in the car? He went, no, it's my fucking mother. Give me my weed card. And I was just like,
he's just a proper moody little bitch.
Yeah, if your mum looks like that, Montoya, you should be lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts to get really weird because she becomes very aware of the fact she can now see what's happening with Valak, whilst she knows she's sat there and she's like a
she plays it so well. Like she really does. Visually, like to look at her, she does play the difference between being able to see. You can tell that she's having a moment to when she's not having a moment, and she does play it so well. It's just that it's the fact that it's not her fault she got bit. So why do you have to treat her like a piece of shit? She is not there yet. She is obviously going through something, and then you're being so fucking horrible to her. You've stripped her naked. She's fucking so confused, and then you slap her. And I mean, he backhands her.
Proper Stockholm syndrome is going on with these two. I swear to God, it's like she becomes his he's her captor, and it's just weird.
It's weird. Like, it's so weird. Why
is she naked?
Why did you have to strip her clothes off?
I don't have an issue. Female bodies are beautiful in any shape, way, or form. Mm-hmm. But I just don't understand the need in that moment. Why did he have to strip her? She had on the smallest skirt you've ever seen and a shirt. There was nothing there that would have really meant that she needed to take her clothes off.
Not at all. But yes, he
did. Taken the time to take her underwear off as well. So I mean, I'm like, dude, that's a bit.
I mean, in her line of work, was she wearing any? So you don't know, but it just seemed like weird choices all around.
Yeah.
At the
same time,
is that where she first bites him when he slaps her?
When she thinks he's asleep, so she convinces him she's going to go for a shower or something. He tells her to keep the door open. So he's asleep then, he falls asleep on the chair. And whilst he's asleep, she has a vision again. And then she realizes she's not cut out for this shit. So she wants to jump out the window. So she's on the window ledge. And he realizes she's out there trying to commit Harry-Carry. And he grabs her and pulls her back through the shoddiest, thinnest window I've ever seen in my entire life.
That broke very quickly.
That was budget choices, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And he pulls her in, and he's all cut up, isn't he? And that's when she bites Daniel Baldwin for the first time.
Because it's not the last.
At the same time all this is happening, bear in mind, Jack Crow, James Woods, has gone back to the motel, beheaded every single person in that motel, separated their heads from their bodies, and then set it on fire and dumped and buried the heads elsewhere.
Yeah, because he had to.
That's a hell of a job. That's a hell of a job to go and do, considering there was at least 30 people in that motel.
Yeah. He did it all by himself.
and buried the heads only a mile away in a small crack next to the side of the road. Yeah, no one's gonna find them, James. Stealth. Well, good job.
Good job.
Great.
All round. Well done.
Pat on the back to you.
And does this where because obviously he's lost his padre, he's lost his
Yes.
priest, and he goes to visit the Catholic Church to get some fucking answers.
Yeah, to tell the cardinal, this is unlike any master I've ever seen in all my years of vampire
You
slaying.
can tell he's a dodgy fucker the minute you see him. The minute he comes on screen, like, yep, you've got something to do with this.
Yeah, you did it. You did it.
He looks dodgy as fuck the minute you see him. And then you get your new padre who, I do love him. I have such a soft spot for him because he's so naive to the church, and by the end of it he's like, no, fuck this, got fucking
He reminds me a lot of, and it's not him, but he does remind me a lot of Fisher Stevens.
I totally understand where you're coming from
There's
with that one.
something about him, and it's like he's got that kind of vibe, where he starts off as the quiet little nerdy Jobsworth, and then by the end of the movie he's like
fucking Rambo.
I'm the best. But yeah, he has this kind of weird vibe about him, and he's very much like, we do things by the book here.
Yeah,
I've got my research, and then James sees and I will use this term lightly because that ain't no fucking painting of Valak that they've dug up from the archives. Bearing in mind, Valak was born, all this happened in the 1300s, and that's supposed to be a painting from the 1300s. This thing looks like it was photocopied from a picture onto a board yesterday. Yeah. There isn't. It's like, come on, guys.
Come on.
Did the props just not get time to age this, or was it just like budget constraint? I'm not really sure.
Or did you think we weren't looking? It's so ridiculous. The whole scene this is the point where you could you've got a new padre who's going to be joining James Woods and his now 1-man, 2-man crew, and you could really give some insight into Jack Crow, and they fucking don't. And then you've obviously got the explanation of Valak, which is so
contrived.
The point is of Valak is he's returned because of a thing where he's going to be able to walk in the sunshine.
Yeah, he's after the Black Cross.
The Black Cross, that's it.
The Black Cross is the thing that magically makes him walk in the sunlight. What that's got to do with the fact that he was actually originally burnt on the stake for just leading a peasant revolt, from what they explained. I mean, that's a bit harsh, bit harsher sentence.
Now we know what happened to the people with the pitchforks for Frankenstein.
Yeah, he's sitting there and you go, okay, right, okay. Yeah. So somehow between him leading a peasant revolt, being burnt on the stake, then suddenly being able to walk the world after he died, we never find out how that happens. And then he lasts 686 years, and he is in this specific place at this specific time.
And now he wants to walk on the sunshine. Not before.
Not all those years before. Just
now.
Specifically now.
Yeah. Right now, in this moment, while James Woods is on a hunt.
Yeah. And Cheryl Lee, he got to have a little bite of archery. That's what we're calling it.
That's the only thing I could think that he was doing, because I was like, no, he's clearly not doing what it looked like he's probably doing, because that's all kinds of wrong.
No, it's definitely ephemeral archery, because there was this interview with Cheryl Lee that I watched, and she said the same thing, but in different words to what John Carpenter said. Vampires, if you don't have sex in of any kind, whether it be sexual tension, sexual scenes, just sexuality within a vampire movie, then it's not a vampire movie. They both said that there has to be an element of some kind of attraction.
I can understand that vampires are meant to be sexy.
But Cheryl Lee's look on it was that when they bite someone else, it's like an exchange of energy. That person is taking from the other person the life force, and then that person is then gonna give it back by making them drink it. So there's like this weird exchange, and she was likening it to just like to sex basically. But then there's this line that James Woods says when he's speaking to the new Padre, which comes next when he's driving with the new Padre in the van, and he goes, "Firstly, have you ever seen a vampire? They're not romantic at all." So the way he sees them is completely different to the way that everybody else is seeing them. So, but is that through years of being jaded as being a slayer, or is that for the fact that he's never been courted by a vampire?
It's going to have to come down to your interpretation of it, because they're not going to tell you in this movie.
No, that's for sure.
They tell you jack shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where were you up to? So
he's just kicked the Padre out of the van because the Padre was going on about doing things by the book, and he was like,
he's been such a little. He was being such a little bitch. Like, look at who you're talking up against, and you've got someone. He's clearly a veteran of the vampire slaying world.
Yeah,
he's seen some shit that you cannot look like him and not have seen some shit. And you've got this little fucking pipsqueak, like, we got to do this, and you got to do that. Yeah. And it's like, get the fuck out of my van, get out. But he does keep him around.
Yeah.
Because he stays to the end of the movie, and he does have such a progressional change that I actually really enjoy watching.
But it's very quick.
It's so quick, because this movie is not the longest of movies.
No, they go from kicking him out of the van to going to the hotel room to pick up the other two to then suddenly being in the showdown.
Yeah, it's so boom, boom, boom. Now, once they picked them up, is this where we get the hang on, let's have a look.
So anyway, Daniel Baldwin's hiding his bite. Just want to add that into everything. He's hidden the bite. He said he got cut by the window glass, although he was very aware that he got bitten. He knows he's got bitten, but he just kept it quiet.
I wrote down, I want his nails. Did you see Valik's nails?
They are very like
they
that.
Are beautifully shaped.
But they have this whole, like, mine are, I think these are called stiletto nails, right?
Yeah.
But women's nails have a tendency to sit very flat.
That's these my nails. They are my actual nails. So you can, and don't judge me that I have two that are longer than the others. But yeah,
I have Dolly Parton plastic jobs.
No, these are mine. I do wear acrylics, but I have taken a break from them for a bit. So they are my nails. And I painted them this color. No one in audio is going to be able to see this, but I painted this color because of how amazing their color is on his nail. I love it's not white, but it's not clear either.
It looks like a bony color.
Oh, I love it.
They look like they're bony type nail things, and they're well done. They spent a lot of money on getting some good acrylics on Valik, but they spend the money on airbrushing veins on his face.
Sorry, Binks, I've just scared the shit out of me. I'm sorry.
But yeah, they go to the hotel, they pick the other two up, and they realize that through her visions, she knows that they're in San Miguel or near San Miguel in a village. And they go to it's big. It's not a bad beer, but you have it with a bit of lime, and it's like a light beer if you're casually drinking. It's nothing you will never get fucked up on that shit. But yeah, it's then suddenly they're in the village and it's daylight, and they're like, oh, there's not many places around here they could be hiding. And they go in and see the town is completely abandoned. There's nobody around. And then it twigs that, oh shit, they must be here, and they've turned the entire village. So he starts to try and work out how many people have been turned compared to, like, so they have an idea of how many people they're looking at. And they grossly underestimate it, don't they? Let's be honest.
Massively. So this is when they're in this town, and as it falls to nightfall, the masters come out of the ground. There is 7 of them.
Yes. Now this is something with the special effects that I heard John talking about, and he was saying that they had to film this a couple of times due to claustrophobia of the actors, because they were actually buried under dirt. Every single one of those actors were not buried in a coffin. They had dirt put over them, and they had a pipe, a breathing apparatus and a pipe, like a literal pipe, and 2 or 3 of them they removed the pipes and told them all to hold their breath, and then they shouted action, and then they had to sit up. So that whole bit was done with them holding their breath and then sitting up. So a couple of them had panic attacks just before. So they had to keep reshooting that bit until they got it right.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise us. Quite intriguing.
I'm not a claustrophobic person myself, but if I've got such a short airwave to start with of breathing, and then that is taken away, and I'm told to hold my breath, that there's a second, and it's, you know, when you like heart skips a beat, and it takes you a moment to like, it's that second of like, shit. Yeah. No, I don't think I'd be able to cope with that. Being in the enclosed space wouldn't bother us in the slightest, but it's the fact that someone's telling us, now you take a deep breath and pull out this small apparatus that's been like controlling my breathing. No, that would send me, I don't blame them. I thought that shot was beautiful though when they all came out the ground, so well done to them.
Yeah, and they are covered in dirt, like literally, this is not just any kind of dirt, we're talking red dirt as well. Yeah.
This was desert sand dirt.
It's dusk, the sun's gone down, it's still quite light, but not light sunlight. And they're slowly, like, every one of them sort of coming out of the dirt, they're all sitting up. And then they all stand up and they all head towards the town. Which I don't understand why the new ones are they're in the jail. Yet these guys have gone and buried themselves outside again.
They're masters, that's why. All 7 of them are masters. There's one bit in this bit that really fucking tickled my funny bone to the point where I wrote down, you have to be fucking kidding me. You can't kill a master at night.
Have we learned nothing?
It's when Daniel Baldwin turns around and goes, Jack, remember, you can't kill a master at night. Shut up. Daniel Baldwin, shut up. Like, no, you can't just chuck that rule in. You can't chuck that bit of knowledge in right towards the end when you've got a chance of killing this master and go, remember, Jack, you can't do it. It's nighttime. No, I don't like that.
Let's throw it in the works.
Oh, it's fucking ridiculous. It's like it's almost improv that they brought that up at that point.
I wouldn't be surprised. You should, because you do see when I found out that it was shot like duly shot, as in the John way and then the James way, and then they melded and edited them together.
Yeah,
you can see some of the actors looking really confused after some of the lines, because some of them aren't improv gods. Some people don't know how to improvise, which is fine. You know, if that's not their way, that, you know, as far as they're concerned, they're given a script, they follow the script.
Yeah.
And so when another actor goes off script, it's very, very hard for those kind of people to be able to adapt to another person's workings. So you do see that there's this scene where James is talking to the Padre and he says something really offensive or funny. Well, it's not offensive, it's funny, but it's offensive to the Padre.
Everything to the Padre was funny. Hang on a sec, I'm just gonna knock some jeans off a chair. There you go. Oh, for fuck's sake, man. My cat's just made a beeline for me other chair, and it's got some jeans on it, and he's been like kind of walking around it, and I thought if I can knock them jeans off, he might sit down. No, he's just fucked off. Never mind. Sorry, yes.
That's all right. He says something offensive or funny to the Padre, and you can see him look really confused. And it's like this look that for me is like, shit, that I don't know how to lead with that to get to my line. I don't know how to get to where I need to go with that. So
what did you just do there?
Yeah, and you see it a couple of times as the film goes on.
He's got such a facial expression, and it's shown throughout where he goes.
Yeah.
What?
It's probably his just entire thought process of the entire movie.
To be honest, he's been just chucked in the shit end of the shitter and being told to deal with it. And
then given a chainmail necklace and then told to go into the jail and fish for vampires, really, isn't he? You know,
it's like when he pulls his gun out for the first time and he's just like shitting his pants in the corner and he's like, oh, pew, 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 pew. And he just closes. It's almost like he closes his eyes and just hopes for the fucking best. I do like him though. I mean, he's not a bad character by any stretch of the imagination, but like
they set him up to be cannon fodder out of the three of them, because he's the
Yeah.
one, even though he offers to go in
Yeah.
and do it, he offers, which is brave. This is where he starts to get some sort of, some understanding that it's not all just research, it's
Exactly.
actual.
And I kind of need to pay me dues in respect. If I'm going to be a part of this with this person, I got to start looking like I give a shit, and like I'm on their page, I'm on their side.
So the plan is what their plan always is, which is to rig up the pulley system to pull the vampire, hook the vampire up, and pull them outside. And now this is the bit where I hadn't seen a vampire go up quite like this in any other film. It's like these vampires are made of phosphorus because they go up like flares. It's like flares are attached to them. Yeah, it is insane how they go out. I mean, the actors that are being pulled out, this is where I'm talking when I said about earlier where they cut it into three. I mean, they do it with all of them, but with this was the bit they showed. They have the actor being dragged out, well, the stunt guy being dragged out on the chain, and the two flares or pyros going off on their arms. Then they cut it there. They then swap it for a dummy covered in the pyros, and they reshoot the same scene, and the whole thing goes up. And then they either swap the dummy for a pile of ash or a very like made up human like person actor that's all made up to look all crispy. And then they seamlessly, I mean, when you go back and you know this knowledge and you watch it, you can see the dummies. You can see plain as day. They don't even try to hide them. They are there. Considering this had a budget of what it did, I have to say I don't know where the money went.
Inexcusable. When you have the likes of Kurtzman and you've got the talent of Nicotero, there's no excuse.
Yeah, it felt like they didn't get enough money. The special effects guys weren't given enough. See.
Just because this movie gets a massive budget, it doesn't mean that the director then has to split that up. It doesn't mean that the makeup department gets that whole budget. They're probably just given like a third of it, if that, to do what they can with it. So if you've got the likes of the open and kill scene with the group, that's going to take a lot of money up to where later, that had to be fucking spectacular. So but the end scene gets affected by it because of, there's no excuse. Lazy.
But it's I enjoyed the way that they died, because for me it was like this disease seemed just like an allergy for sunlight. That's all this disease was. Like, it didn't. They feed on blood and all that sort of shit as well. But
that wasn't the main focus of it.
Yeah, it seemed like the predominant thing in this was to be able to walk in the sunlight so that they wouldn't burst into flames the second the sunlight touches their body,
and they can get
had
more
they
blood.
focused on that just a tad more, then it would have been the driving force behind the film. You would have gone, oh yeah, okay, I can see why he's so passionate. They don't explain what the cross has to do with being able to get them to walk in the daylight. He just says he's got to get this black cross because it will help them walk in the day. No idea how he's going to get them to once he gets this cross.
And what does he do after he's been able to walk in the sunlight? What happens then? What happens next? Oh, I can get a tan.
I'll go get a job. I'll
live in the normal society. No,
I haven't got any money because I've just been wandering or been buried. Do you know what I mean? It's like
the likes of mobile phones is just starting to cut. What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? The internet,
modern technology.
Exactly. You've been stuck in the dirt for how many years?
You
haven't thought this one through, have you?
No, but yeah, the gist of it is anyway. They have this. It almost peaks here where there's like it's like a repetition of what happened to Valak is now about to happen to Crow, where he's pinned to what only looks like the worst cross I've ever seen in my entire life. Looks like some drain covers that's just been made.
I mean, they just had to use the resources really around them. But can you remember when you were a kid? I don't know. I come from a mining village that was, in our primary schools were heavily influenced by our Christianity. And we celebrated all the major religious holidays. And Easter, was it? We used to make these woven crosses. Did you ever do that? It was like it was like almost made out of like fucking, it wasn't twigs or anything. It was such a weird material that used to bend and used to make a cross out of it. That's what it looked like. My attempt of that, because I am no crafty person. My cross looked fucked up.
We just had Chris Dingle where you had the orange and you stuck a candle in it.
Anthony thinks I'm making that up when I talk about that.
I have to say it's not something that I've experienced. It may just be a mining town up north thing.
Yeah, everyone Anne thinks I'm making, and Anthony comes from a fucking mining village, and you know he's only there is a little age gap. It's only 2 years, but he honestly thinks I was born in the fucking 1800s. The way like, but yeah, you remember the orange, the red ribbon, the pins in the top.
And then the candle in the middle and a bit of
candle in the middle.
There's also a bit of tinfoil.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. But yeah.
See, I knew I wasn't making that shit up, but we used to make these like woven crosses, and what they created there looks like that's the point I was getting at.
But yeah, they have this weird this is where it gets weird, because I don't remember them explaining how they captured.
No, they just got him. They just absolutely got him
across.
But then before he gets tied her across, fucking dodgy ass Cardinal comes out of nowhere. It was me, Jack, all along.
Yep. I was the one who brought Valak here because he's promised me eternal life.
No, he didn't. Well, he probably did, but you ain't getting it because he's dodgy as you are.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It was such a Scooby-Doo moment.
Oh, it's like really, dude, you're that guy, are you? Okay,
you're that guy.
You're gonna believe everything, right?
Yeah, you fucking idiot.
He's the one that reveals all the plans, like they do. You know, you get that one baddie that feels the need to tell you everything that's gonna happen, so you can not let it happen. You know,
reveal all your plans.
Yeah, before you actually carry them out, you know.
It's just the way he pops out from behind Valak and he's like, "Oh, Jack, hi, it was me."
How you doing? And Jack's just sitting there going, "You piece of shit, you motherfucker."
It's almost Jack was like, "Of course it was you." Like, look at you.
In your red cape, where you flying to?
Fuck me.
But yeah, they put him on this shitty cross, and then you get this bit where Valak, I think it's Valak murders, or who kills the Cardinal?
Oh.
I can't remember this bit.
I can't remember who killed the Cardinal.
The Cardinal dies, which means that they're left without the holy person they need to perform this ritual with the Black Cross to be able to walk in the sun. I think that's what this bit was.
Well, yeah, you had to be there for that. Who killed the Cardinal? Vampires. Let's have a look. What? It kills Alba before you can complete the ritual and holds off. Oh, the Padre kills Alba.
Oh, it's the Padre, right?
Yeah, before he can complete the ritual to hold off the vampire horde by threatening to kill himself and leave Valak without a priest. Yeah. Gosh. There you go. Yeah. So yes. It doesn't work because no one gives a shit.
Yeah. And he's trying to he looks like he's trying to light James Woods on fire. But then there's this bit where Montoya has just been bitten by Cheryl Lee again, because she bites him on the neck this time, and he does his look how tough a man I am. I'm just going to shoot my gun, make my gun hot, and like cauterize the wound. And it's like, dude, we get it, we understand. You're a man's man.
You're a Baldwin.
Baldwin. That's never not going to be a thing.
Baldwin.
And then he comes back. He's still him, even though he's been bitten, and you can see he's getting worse and worse and worse. And he's on day 2, I think, at this point. And
and he hasn't eaten food, so no. He's not slowing the process down.
No, but there's this bit where something happens. He either shoots the crossbow into the cross, and it yanks.
Yeah, James Woods out.
With James Woods on it. And I'm not joking, this guy would not have survived that, because he literally drags the cross along the floor at a million miles, and you watch him fly, attached to the cross, fly out off of, attached to the cross this whole time, out of the position, and then hit the floor. The whiplash, whoever that person would have been, would have broken their neck and their back. And who's to say that they weren't landing on their front and they would have been pulled across and got road rash all the way down their face, and then like he's perfectly fine, not even got a backache. When the Padre cuts him off. I burst out laughing when I saw that. It was like one of those like cartoon moments where they take it that's exactly that.
Yeah. I totally get what you mean.
I was waiting for the Benny Hill theme tune.
How did it? It's almost like Wile E. Coyote, like gonna acne bomb or something. How does Malik Valak Tommy Silver die?
He then decides the sun starts coming up at this point. And everybody all the vampires that survived run off into the jail to go underground.
Get me in the dirt.
However, Valak decides to stay outside because James Woods has got the Black Cross.
Mm-hmm.
He managed to run back and get it at this point, after being broken in half by being yanked off by. Oh, that sounded really bad. Being yanked.
You can't get around it.
James Woods by that Bob pulling him off. Oh God, it's just getting worse. Yeah. Anyway, that happens, right?
Yeah.
That's the same film we're talking about as well. And he refuses to go into hiding because he's so angry at James Woods because he's got the Black Cross. And so he runs into the barn, Valak, and James Wood goes in after him. Now, bearing in mind, this isn't just a cross. He's not just holding a piddly little thing. This thing is like one of the ceremonial staff jobbies that you see, in a proper, like, behind
It'll only ever be in a Catholic one though, because Christians don't do big ghastly objects like that.
No, it would either be in my. To be fair, it would probably be in my hallway if I ever saw one. I'd buy that and put it in my hallway because I'm weird like that. I've got loads of religious stuff downstairs. It's odd. It scares the Jehovah's. It's a good ploy.
Some beautiful artwork comes out of it.
It does. So he's running to the barn and he's trying to stay out of the light and stay in the shadows, and they have this kind of like banter where James is like, that's where James turns around and says, so after 600 years does your dick still work, and all stuff like that. I'm like, dude, that's none of your business.
That's a personal fucking question.
It's none of your business. And so they have this like slappy fight, like backhandy fight, don't they, where he like hits James Woods and he goes and it's like boo! He just bounces off of everything, and then he gets back up and he's starting to give him more jip, and then Valak just is like watching him intently and observing him, and he's not retaliating so much with like the banter. And then something
got
like
me sense of humor.
Something dawns on James Woods to run at a pillar that's holding up the roof. So he distracts him with his magic wand stick with the cross on it, and then he sideswipes or shoulder barges the pillar down, and the roof collapses. And Valak then, I'm not joking you, we're not just talking about a little turn to stone and then to ash, or set on fire and then burn to ash. This dude imploded then exploded, in such an epic fashion. It was. I actually laughed when this happened because it just seemed so ridiculous. There was clothing, there was chunks of pink, there was pink mist, there was white mist, there was grey smoke. It was like this whole.
Maybe it could have just burned and then turned, had his bones revealed there, but to do it in such epic fashion was just. It's almost like, honestly, you could if someone turned around and told me this movie was a comedy, I'd believe them.
Yes, 100%. Yeah,
it's not though.
No, this bit did make me laugh because of just how
it's epic, unnecessarily epic.
Yeah, the death was a choice. I mean, there's so many ways they could have played it. There's so many ways they could have played that death, but for him to have gone from strong 6'5", coat wearing, moody dark hair, looks like bloody lead singer of Typo Negative. You know what I mean? He had that.
Oh, I was getting Trent
Peter,
Reznor vibes. Oh,
yeah, it's that
Peter
whole era,
Steele.
isn't it? Huh?
Pete Steele would have fucked them up.
Do you know what I mean? It was that all that era kind of like
Yeah, it was.
music that
Yeah.
he had that kind of vibe going on, and we're supposed to believe he went from that to Pink Mist in the snap of a finger, and it's like there was no. Let's drag this out. Let him have a painful death. He's been alive for 686 years.
He's been a
Let's
pain in the
do-
ass the whole movie. You know, let's really drag on this one. But no.
Oh, boom, gone, done.
Gone.
And that was that.
And that was that. Honestly, that it done and dusted. You then got the confrontation between Jack Crow and Montoya because he's come to realize he's been bit. Not just once, by the way. He was bit twice. So yeah, he's come to, and then it's like rule number 1: don't leave a brother alive if they've been bitten. Fuck off, man. Because the Padre comes in fucking steaming, ready to kill him. Like that Baldwin is gonna hit the ground. And James Wood stops him because obviously at the end of the day it's his brother standing in front of him, and he's going, "Do you really like?" Because he's got fucking Laura Palmer in the car, and he's like, "You really love her?" And he's like, "She just gets me, man." It's like, aye, because the pair is a fucking. You're gonna be dirty vampires shortly. That's why. Like, there's no other connection than that. And he's like, I give you 2 days. What was the 2 days for?
He'd been bitten 2 days ago, and he didn't know.
But why did he give him two? Did he give him 2 days to do something? And he says, "You owe me 2 days."
It was because he didn't tell him that he'd been bitten, and he was like with him for 2 days. So he said, "I'll give you a 2-day head start."
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yes, he said because nothing's happened in them 2 days, and I'd already been bitten. So, and he's like, right, well, I owe you 2 days.
Yeah, so you can have 2 days head start, and then I will come find you, and I will kill you. And he does his Taken Liam Neeson speech, practically word for word, may I add. So whoever wrote Taken must have heard that speech, because it's "I will find you, I will kill you." You know, that whole, it is exactly the same kind of.
I will find you. I will kill you.
And then he just lets them go. They drive off into the distance, but the law suggests that those two were supposed to turn into master vampires,
right?
Because she was bitten by the monster,
she bit him. And then the Padre and Jack Crow kind of drive off into the sunset, like forging a bond and ready to go, and like, you know, we're in this together, we're doing this together, we're gonna go kill more vampires together. And then the movie ends.
Yeah, I have a very, like, this movie was classed as a financial success, right?
Yeah, it really was.
Now, when I tell you this, though, I can't physically see, I can't work the numbers out to how this became a financial success. The budget was 20 million for that movie. $20 million in 1998.
Where did it go?
It's the equivalent to 38.4 million today, right?
Okay.
Box office, 20.3 million. So it only made 300,000 more than the budget. Yeah, it was
deemed a success.
Success. And it was supposed to be John Carpenter's only financial success in the whole of the 90s. His 80s movies, great. His 90s, people weren't falling in love with his stuff in the 90s.
It was too out there for the 90s. Gosh, I don't even know where it would fit, but it's that saying that, who did Kurt Russell said it to somebody? I think it was when we were doing Event Horizon.
It won't be a hit
now, but it'll be a hit later. And that is so much like John's movies, apart from this one. Even though this was love then, it's love now. For all I have laughed, scoffed, rolled my eyes, called people by the wrong name, I genuinely have a lot of love for this movie. I really do. I was so excited when you agreed. Did you? You didn't agree? You said we're doing this episode. I just went, fuck yeah. Because there's just something about it. It's like, I don't know if it's like the whole gang at the beginning and vampire hunters and like, fuck yeah, let's go kill some vampires. Because I am not, as I've mentioned this before, as much as I love Interview with the Vampire and The Lost Boys, you know, they are my only thing to vampire. I am not the biggest vampire fan. So to have fucking vampire slayers, and it's not all focused on the vampire itself. I love that. You'd think I'd be a fan of Buffy's because of that, and I'm not.
Buffy's not really about the vampires, though, is it? It's about a teenage girl who's the slayer.
And this is it, and this is why I love this movie, is because it's not all about the vampire. But when I'm looking at it now, like as an almost 41-year-old, I'm not looking like I did when I was in my early 20s. Like this, in my early 20s, I'm looking at shapes, figures, and and I'm not looking at the major plot of that. Nothing actually came about of this movie. You don't get to know about Jack's story properly, even though it's so intriguing. And you don't get to know a lot about Malik Valek. There's not much there in aspects of giving a shit why this person's actually here. Like, just fucking kill him already.
But where has he been for the last 686 years?
Exactly, the whole Black Cross thing, the fucking walking in the sunlight, the Cardinal being an absolute creepy, dodgy fucker. There's no, it just, and I don't know if this is because I'm spoiled by movies of today, where there is a lot of backstory and there is a lot of like depth and fleshing out. It's not here. It's not in here.
I mean, even John Stakely said, was it John Stakely? The guy who wrote the original book. He actually said that there was a massive budget cut some point during the filming, which meant that it was led to a lot of rewrites that took it away from the book. I did see a YouTube video, which I didn't have time to watch, as it was an hour and a half long, but it was explaining the differences between the book and the movie. And had I found that earlier, I would have sat and watched that because it looked really intriguing. So if anybody wants to go and watch that, it's out there somewhere. It's like the differences between the original book, which is called Vampires, and the S is a $. And then the movie Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires.
John Carpenter's Vampires, which apparently was only known as Vampires, but you have to put the John Carpenter in to know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, because there's so many films now.
Yeah, in my notes I kept calling him JC, and I was like, please don't, God, say that while you, because I couldn't be asked to keep writing his fucking name.
Right, so we have a kill count for this one.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when these happened, but they happened. Okay. So with The Invisible Man, what was the kill count on that one?
118 and 124, 120, either 122 or 124. We really need to go back and have a look at our kill counts, because that number changes all the fucking time.
But I'm right in saying that the majority of those happened off screen. Yeah.
100 of them happened off screen, because that's the bus, and then I think there's only 4 that you really see, but the rest of them are all off screen. But who gives a fuck? Claude Rains fucking killed 120 odd people in one movie. Come on then, what's the kill count?
Well, you're going to be sad and upset. We have a new winner.
Oh, hang on, wait a minute, because Michael Myers is the reigning kill count.
What's he at?
Hold on.
Before I embarrass myself.
How far did we do? Because it used to be Jason. Jason was the highest kill count, and then it was Michael overtook him, but Claude Rains still reigns supreme because it's one movie, and Michael and Jason's was spread out over 11 or 12. Kill count 161.
Is that for Michael?
That's Michael's.
And he was winning.
And he beat Jason by 10.
We still got a new winner. John Carpenter's Vampires has a kill count of 187.
Oh.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Now,
oh my God, hang on. What was it? 100 and what?
87.
100. I'm going to write that down. So 187.
And that's according to Wiki Deaths, which is the official movie wiki page do with movie
God.
deaths. I went through and it named all the named characters, and then it said plus, and it said plus other deaths, or
Yeah, within the
deaths.
off-screen deaths and that. Yeah, because we counted it for Claude, because otherwise Claude would be literally sitting at the bottom of the fucking barrel if we were just looking at on-screen ones, and I'm not. Fucking killed 120 something people in one movie. Oh my God, he actually beats Claude.
So the total came to 187. So yeah, he John Carpenter's Vampires has outdone his own boy Michael, and that's across 11 movies. This is in one film. 187 versus 160 odd in 11 films. Or
you
10 films.
heard it here first. We have a new kill count champ.
Yep.
That is unbelievable. You've sat on that one all episode. That's been pretty. I would have fucking best to be telling that one.
Well chuffed with myself there.
Well, I'm all out of facts. I'm all out of movie talk.
That was my pièce
I'm
de
all out of
resistance.
love.
So lost
Without you.
All I think about is Ryan Reynolds and Van Wilder singing that the guitar.
I fucking love that film.
If anybody wants to see Deadpool before he was Deadpool, go watch Ryan Reynolds in Van Wilder.
It honestly is like, especially if you're our age group, it's like that humor is just fucking hilarious. But yeah, I'm all out of tight jeans. I'm all out of leather. Denim and leather can go and get in the bin now because we're done with it. I loved it though. I've loved going back over this film. Like I say, it is one of my favorites. And the next time I watch it, I'll be just looking at shapes and colors. I ain't gonna try and fucking delve into the story anymore because let's face it, it's not really there.
There's not often you will find a Western horror. So, I'll take it for what it was.
Exactly. But next week, we have been very much enjoying doing the two movies of either the same name or redos, but of different time eras. And next week's going to be no different. We're going back into it. Do you want to announce what it is, Danielle? The audio listener, she's counting.
13 with a 3 in it. Ghosties.
13 ghosts. And we are doing the Castle 13 Ghosts, and I can't fucking wait. Castle's version of 13 Ghosts, and we're doing the studio who did House on Haunted Hill from the 90s, their version as well. Little trivia for you here, guys. Never seen them.
And I once gave Matt Lillard a pop that my friend Lindsay made of him as I've gone blank on his name, the lead character in 13 Ghosts. Matt Lillard is not a fan of this movie. When I was talking to him about it, I was talking to him about it, and I said, why are you not Dennis? That was his name in this movie, Dennis. And he said, well, it's just one of those movies that didn't do great, and I don't think people really. And I was like, dude, that film has a cult following, like unbelievably, like you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
And anyone who's a horror film but a nerd will understand how much the new one, you will have nightmares over some of these ghosts. If you like Cabin in the Woods, if you like Cabin in the Woods for the ghosts, this is where they got their inspiration. Somebody turned up to the Edinburgh Horror Con that Matt was at, dressed like the Jackal. And for those of you that have seen the movie, you will know exactly who I'm talking about. And the Jackal, it was perfect. It was spot on, and it was insane. So keep your eyes open for that one. And Sammy, this is going to be a treat for Sammy, the remake. I'm
looking forward to watching.
You're going to love it.
I'm looking forward to watching the original because obviously, I love an old movie. But again, I'm looking forward to the remake more because when we did House on Haunted Hill and people realised that Castle had something to do with the director of 13 Ghosts, the original, and little chit chat started with the 13 Ghosts, people were so happy about that because this film, as you said, it has a lot of love, and I've never seen it before. And I don't want to say it passed us by. It just
I
don't
just
care.
fell in love with it really quickly. It was one of those films that crossed my path. And I used to do this thing where when I was getting my paycheck from work, because I used to work, I was at college all week and then I'd work Saturdays or after work, after, college, whatever. So whenever I got my paycheck, I'd go to Woolworths and I'd go and look at all the DVDs or videos, depending on what era of time it was. And I picked myself out one or two a week or a month, however I was paid. And I'd go buy them and I'd take them home and I'd watch them. And it had been a standard thing for me since I was a little kid to be able to do that. That's what I'd spend my pocket money on.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So so for me, I went out and got 13 Ghosts after, I think it might have been after House on the Haunted Hill. But I just, there's something about the remake. I've not seen the original, so this is going to be interesting for me. I've not seen the original. I'm aware of it. I know of it, and I know it's not the same kind of film. I know it's very different, so I'm going to be incredibly intrigued.
At this point, I don't know, so I'm looking forward to seeing the contrast between the two. I used to have a hell of a DVD collection until I sold it all. I had a huge thing of Asian horror at one point, and my Asian horror collection was just unreal, and I got a shitload of money for that. I sold it all of it. I only have literally a handful of horror DVDs that I kept behind. I sold my whole collection of Freddy's and Jason's and Michael's, all like collectible editions as well. Hellraiser box that went,
that was painful.
It wasn't a decision I took very lightly, put it that way. But yeah, I'm really looking forward. We've really enjoyed doing the movies that have had an older and a newer version to be able to discuss the two of them. So this just feels like it's a natural fit to what we've been doing recently.
Yeah, 100%. And next week will officially be our 52nd episode.
Ooh.
So technically it will be an entire year's worth of content. Shows you've had from us.
Yeah.
As from next week.
Wow, 52 episodes. And, if you want to ever go back on some of our old ones, either on YouTube through audio, honestly, go through either one of them, use either a platform. But if you are going to go and revisit The Invisible Man, you have to watch it on YouTube. You have to watch that on YouTube.
It's an experience.
It is something you have to see visually. But we have so many past episodes that have just... I'm starting to get to the point now where I'm forgetting what we've done.
Good job I don't. You're all right.
It's like when I was doing my interview with Ian White, which would have already have aired now. I was like, Predator. Have I done Predator for Monsters? Oh, fuck yeah, I did. That's the one with Gareth on.
We've done Creature, Predator, Alien, the Xenomorph from Alien, or Xenomorph, depending on how you say it.
How you pronounce it.
We've done Dracula. We've done The Wolfman. We have done really random movies like The Blob. We've done,
which was the best, by the way.
It was. We've done
Cemetery.
My
favorite episode.
Waiting for Jackson. We've done Sleepaway Camp. We've done. We're trying to cover as many eras in horror and Monsterland as we can. And we've also we had an interview, for those of you that haven't seen it, we did an interview with Mr. Neil Marshall, director of the 3Ds, The Descent, Dog Soldiers, and Doomsday. I nearly forgot, but Doomsday. So the 3Ds. He also directed an episode of Game of Thrones and two. And Hannibal. He did the Red Dragon episode of Hannibal. The man is a lovely guy. Go back and have a look at that episode. We've done Pennywise, we've done Chucky and Tiffany, we have done Michael Myers, Jason. We have covered a hell of a lot. So
yeah, and do you know what? There's so much more.
Yeah,
there's so much more.
We've done Hannibal Lecter.
We've even done
Gary Oldman, Tom Savini, Rick Baker. I can go on. Trust me, I've got a very good memory.
Yeah, it's better than. It's honestly better than mine. Yeah. So there's a lot that you can go back on. And can you, out of all the lists that Dan's just given you, and even if you know our back catalogue, There's one universal monster that's not been touched yet.
Mm.
So yeah, that's something to look forward to. But honestly, we haven't even scratched the surface. Like, if 52 episodes in, and we still have a list the length of Dan and and just other stuff that we want to do. But at the minute, I'm really loving. I think the Carrie one really set it. Actually, the Blob is where it stemmed from. Was looking at the original and a remake, because I loved that episode. I love the movie. I love the episode. So it's something that we've kind of enjoyed doing.
I think the Blob was the gateway to.
Yeah, massively.
It was a hidden gem for me, the remake. I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know it existed until we decided to do it. I knew of the Steve McQueen one. So when I watched it and realized it was actually a bloody good film, I was expecting terrible. I was like, the original's awful. So this is just, it's great, and it has its place in cinema history, the original Blob, but it's badly acted, and it's just, but when the remake came along and you had Shawnee Smith from Saw in it, and you're watching it and you're like, shit, this is actually really good.
I remember when we looked at the posters for it, because again, if Dan says let's do an old movie, I want to do I'm fine with that. And the Blob, like, obviously it's a classic. But when I saw the posters for the 81s, I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna fucking watch this. Like, I don't even think I don't know. I've managed to do podcasts before where I've not watched anything and still managed to blag me way through it. But I was like, and then I was getting, no, come on, give it a go. And fuck me, it was so good. But that really set us on a trajectory of where we've headed over the last few episodes. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed doing them. And next week, I think is going to be fantastic, because there's something I've not seen before. And I know that there's a lot of love for this film. So I really hope you come and join us. We are on YouTube at 8 o'clock every Monday if you want to see us. But if you want to hear us, we're available on Tuesdays, and that's for all Nerdy Up North podcasts. They go out every Tuesday. From anywhere you get your podcast from. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of any of the productions on the Nerdy Up North podcast YouTube page. Oh yeah, please, and also the links for Bleeding Marvelous, Monsters Up North, Nerdy Up North are where, Dan? No, remember, it's up and over.
Oh
yeah, up and over. They're up and they've done that. That's it, up and over. I wasn't looking at you originally, and my eyes moved over. Hey, Christ. Did you see that AI clip that's been posted up recently of last week's episode? And I'm literally looking directly into the camera. It's fucking creepy. It's so scary.
You know what's worse? How far it zoomed in on my face. That's counselling there. I'm going to have to get counselling seeing myself that close.
I don't look in my eyes.
My skin through a video. Thank you very much.
I don't know.
I know what I look like. I don't need to see it. Thank you.
I don't know why, because like my camera is like here, and for me, you are here. So if I want to, I feel like I'm having a conversation, I need to look at you. So
you're like there to me, but you're there here to me.
So sometimes I'm kind of like switching, but why I'm looking directly at my camera, I don't know. But yeah, they're all on the air. Yeah, Monsters Up North Instagram page is available as well if you're ever interested in come and join us. It's doing kind of well. Your HorrorConic visit was very much helpful.
Don't know what you mean.
Hey, so if that's, have we got anything else, Tad, or are we done?
No, that's the minutes of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for participating. And if there's nothing else to say goodbye, Dan.
Bye.
Why stay nerdy? No. Stay spooky, everyone. Where the fuck am I?
Shocking.
Oh my God. Stay spooky, everyone. Bye.